Welcome to the first State of Decay video. Today I'm going to be going over settings. Make sure all your settings are the way you want them. You can invert the x-axis if you want to. Don't know why you do that, but it'll allow you. You can invert your y-axis. That's what I use. You can enable or disable controller vibration. The controller sensitivity I recommend for this particular game is 1.25 because 1.0 is too slow and 1.25 makes snapshotting zombies' heads easier, and it also makes targeting and aiming a bit better as well. That's just what I'd suggest. Subtitles, I would definitely suggest them on so you don't miss any important dialogue. I believe that's really important to the game, especially when you get information coming in over the radio from Lily Ritter. Hint duration, I leave it default. What you need to understand about State of Decay is that this is a zombie survival base building sandbox game with light RPG elements. And by light RPG elements, I mean your characters have skills they can improve, like fighting, stamina, like they might have a specialization. It's all very important. And you should also know some controls for the game as well. The first one you should know is that holding down B allows you to crouch down and sneak around the zombies, provided they don't see you, like if you're sneaking up behind them using stealth. The second thing to know is how to kick. Like when you're in combat dealing with the zombies up close, you want to use the Y button to kick them. And when you're in combat up close with the zombies, you also need to remember that you can press B to dodge them. So once you have the zombie kicked down on the ground or smacked down on the ground, however you did, like if you did it with a melee weapon, you hit left bumper and Y. Like you have to hit left bumper and Y to finish them to smash their head in. Another thing to understand about this game, and I'm just covering the basics now before I start the entire playthrough, is that you've always got to set up traps for your outposts in order to keep the passing hordes out. Well, infestations turn into hordes too eventually, so keep that in mind. It's important you clear infestations out. Another thing to notice, you see in my stockpiles right here how that number is blue? That means the outposts that I have set up are providing a bonus, and those bring back resources every day. There have been a lot of patches to this game. I'm pretty sure those bonuses are permanent now because I left this game unattended for I think a few years or more before coming back to it. I came back and there was all this ammo, all this fuel, all this food, and all this medicine, and a bunch more loot as well. So keep that in mind. In a mini mart, you get a food bonus. You were to set up an industrial supply store that had a fuel cache, you get fuel bonuses every day. If you set up in a warehouse that had guns and ammunition in it, and you didn't loot it, and you set up in a gun shop and didn't loot it, you get ammunition bonuses. So keep that in mind. And then if you had like a building supply that you're set up in, you get those too. I think the warehouse is probably drained kind of dry by now, or getting close to it, because if you'll notice in the top left corner of my screen, the building supplies icon is not highlighted in blue, whereas everything else is. The church that's way up here is not that good because it's very vulnerable. This is where you start out in the game, and by vulnerable I mean like this has a very small safety bubble, and you pretty much have to put your 4 outposts in these 4 main buildings here. In the fast food restaurant, over here at this house, over here at this house, and then at one of these houses down here. Personally, I'd recommend using this house. Early on in the game, you want to go all the way up here to scavenge first in this warehouse, and then you want to hit the industrial supply store. And then you want to search this cabin. Up here, it's a sort of unmarked area. I think there might be some loot over here. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's just barren. And then you come down here. There's a thicket you can search over here. And then there's another thicket. And I think up here is the old abandoned logging mill. And that place is kind of creepy, but I think there's at least some decent loot up there. And then, of course, over here, you have a campsite. Over here, you have another campsite. Somewhere over in this area, I think you have an orchard. Yeah, there's the orchard right there. This is up near the Wilkersons. Yeah, up there, the Wilkersons right there. And then, of course, there's a survey point. There's a little building right there. I don't know if there's loot in there or not. It's been ages since I played the game. And then, of course, there's a house and a station wagon, some little stuff right there. But that should cover pretty much the basis of it. So then there's a trailer park you can loot, a mini mart, and all these houses up here and everything. There's like a veterinary clinic. And then, of course, in the middle section of the map, there's like a farm and a bunch of thickets here. You want to search all those. You want to pick these areas clean. And then you want to clear out the fields right over here. You want to clear out the barn. All these nearby places that can be looted, you want to knock out, including the farms over in this area. Eventually, when you get around to them, this is another key area you want to scavenge and totally clear out. You want to clear all these out too. Once you've cleared all those areas out, and you are about ready to move to the trucker depot, you want to come down here and loot this whole station. And you can do that by placing your ace outpost in here and doing what is called outpost scavenging, to where you create a safety bubble and then you loot all of the surrounding structures. And then, of course, along your way, when you got time, come down here, loot all this, come down here, loot all this, loot all that, loot all this over here, loot all of these. Looks like I left some building resources stocked there if I need to go pick them up. And then, of course, abandoned sites and other areas around this particular zone over here. You want to clear all those out, and then there's another little bitty orchard over there that I think is kind of creepy since it's by lake. And by searching all those different places and looting all of them, you have effectively cleared out all of the harder to reach areas in the boonies, and that leaves you with this entire city as your backup stock if you need to loot it for more resources. But once you set up these outposts the way I have for the Snyder Trucking Depot, you shouldn't have a problem.